When Ethan Shaw was 18, he loved me like I was his entire world. At 28, he sat in a neon-lit VIP lounge, laughing as he said he was tired of the sweet young girls always curled up in his arms. I didn't cry or make a scene. I simply moved out of the apartment we'd been living in together. News of our breakup spread quickly, and people kept pestering me about when I'd go back and make up with him. That very night, Ethan's younger cousin knocked on my door. "Lily, my brother's getting old. You should give me a try. I'm young and full of energy." On Ethan's 28th birthday, I had to stay late at the office because a project was about to go live. After work, I rushed to celebrate with him. When I reached the door of the private lounge and looked through the gap, I saw Ethan holding a young, beautiful girl in his arms. I recognized her immediately. She was a rising star promoted by Shaw Entertainment this year, one he had already grown tired of. From inside the lounge, I heard Ethan's lazy, indifferent voice. I straightened instinctively as someone said, "Lily's body really is something else. And you're already tired of her?" Ethan chuckled. "She's been mine since I was 18. Wouldn't you be sick of the same person after 10 years? As he spoke, he gently caressed the young woman's delicate face. "Lily's not young anymore." The words hit me like a thunderbolt. The cake in my hands dropped to the floor. Dozens of eyes inside turned to me. Under the dim lighting, my face must have looked ghostly pale. Sis-in-law?" One of Ethan's brothers, sitting near the edge, asked cautiously. Everyone in that room, except for the girl in Ethan's arms, had known me for years. But apparently, all those years of friendship were one-sided. Ethan cast his brother a glance and smirked. "Don't call her that. My girl's sitting right here in my arms." The young woman blushed at his words and snuggled closer to him. I clenched my fists, fingernails digging into my palms, and stepped forward, one slow step at a time, until I stood in front of Ethan. That's when I noticed the matching couple rings on his hand and the other one on hers. I remembered the 4th year of his business when he had taken off the couple rings we'd worn since college. He said it looked childish to wear them in front of clients, and now he had put them back on for someone else. When the girl saw me, her face turned red, then pale, fear replacing the flush. Ethan pulled her closer protectively. "Lily, this is between you and me. Don't take it out on Mia." Before I could speak, Ethan had already decided I was the villain. I took a deep breath and looked straight at him. "You're really not going to explain anything?" Ethan said calmly. "Since you already know, I'll just be honest. Let's break up. I don't want to wrong Mia. I want to give her a proper status." I let out a bitter laugh. "Ethan, if you didn't want to wrong her, you shouldn't have gotten involved with her before breaking up with me. You made her the woman who came between us." "Lily, watch your mouth," he snapped. Mia whimpered softly in his arms. He comforted her gently, not even looking at me. "If you ever speak about Mia like that again, I'll make sure you can't stay in Ocean City." I stumbled out of the lounge, dazed. Ethan and I were college classmates. It had been love at first sight for him. Back then, he had been so attentive and considerate, like he wanted to give me the whole world just to see me smile. We started dating during our freshman year's National Day break. After that, he only had eyes for me. He proudly declared his love for me to everyone around us, scaring off all my admirers. He even wore my hair tie around his wrist, so every woman who got close to him would know he was taken. He really did love me once, and now he genuinely didn't love me at all. I'm not someone who begs when love has faded. What hurts me isn't that he stopped loving me. It's that after all our years together, he didn't choose to end things with dignity. Instead, he humiliated me in the cruelest way possible. And he knew my mother had postpartum depression and jumped to her death after my father cheated on her. I took a cab and returned to the place I once called home, the home I had shared with Ethan Shaw. Ethan Shaw was the only son of the powerful Shaw family, one of the wealthiest in Ocean City. His parents had always looked down on me. In our senior year of college, he moved out of his family's estate to start his own business. He was a pampered heir who had never suffered a day in his life. Yet for me, he moved into a tiny 20-square-meter apartment. On our first night in that cramped little place, he held me in his arms and said, "Lily, as long as I'm with you, I'm willing to do anything." Later, he made it. In just 4 years, the company he built from the ground up went public. Eventually, his parents relented and gave us their blessing. While I was still lost in the dream of us finally getting married, he suddenly stopped mentioning marriage altogether. I brought it up myself, but he always brushed it off, saying he just wanted to enjoy life as a couple for a while longer, that he didn't want to rush into marriage. Looking back now, there were already signs that Ethan's heart had changed. I'd seen how he acted when he loved me, so the moment he stopped, I could tell right away. I just couldn't bear to let go of him, or the 10 years we had struggled and endured together. Over the years, I'd managed to save some money through work. And with the support Ethan gave me, I quietly bought a small apartment in District 2 once I sensed things weren't the same anymore. By the time I finished packing, it was already 1 a.m. As I dragged my suitcase out, I suddenly heard the sound of someone entering the password at the door. I hadn't expected Ethan to come back tonight. Even when it was late, he'd always return home. But now, I realized that was all an act he'd put on just for me. Now that we'd broken up, he no longer needed to pretend. When Ethan opened the door and saw the suitcase by my feet, he paused for a moment, clearly surprised. He frowned and said, "You have work tomorrow. Come sleep with me first." I let out a cold laugh. "Ethan Shaw, we've already broken up. If you need someone to sleep with, you should go find Miss Mia. I'm not the kind of woman who sticks around just to offer you a final farewell performance." "She's too delicate," he muttered. "I can't bring myself to touch her." Ethan stepped in front of me, lowered his head, and tried to kiss me. I turned my head away. "It's been 10 years, Ethan. Did you really think I wouldn't get tired of the same old tricks? Honestly, I'm not interested in you anymore." With every word I spoke, the air between us grew heavier. I took a step back to widen the distance between us. "You made your choice. We broke up. Don't come crawling back like this. I'm not someone who begs or clings." After everything Ethan had done to me, I had no reason to be kind. His face darkened with fury, his jaw tight with anger. "Lily Chen, you better listen. If you walk out that door tonight, don't ever come back." I sneered. The fact that he had openly cheated on me and still thought I'd come crawling back was laughable. He had truly underestimated me. Even if I still loved him, I would never throw away my pride just to keep him. I zipped up my suitcase and walked out without hesitation. The moment I closed the door behind me, I heard the sound of a glass shattering from inside. At the new place, I unpacked, took a shower, and sat on the couch in the living room watching a movie. But the sadness crept in like a flood. All those beautiful memories kept flashing through my mind like scenes from a film, looping over and over again until they landed on that moment, Ethan holding Mia in his arms. I downed the glass of water on the coffee table in one gulp and told myself silently, "Lily, this too shall pass." Suddenly there was a knock at the door. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was 2 a.m. I frowned. Who could be coming at this hour? I walked to the entryway and looked through the peephole. The face outside was one I recognized. When I opened the door, I asked flatly, "Did Ethan send you?" Standing outside was Ethan's younger cousin, Levi Shaw. He was 4 years younger than Ethan, and we had never been particularly close. But tonight he looked nervous, so much so that I was caught completely off guard. Levi Shaw was a well-known heir in the elite social circles, arrogant, flamboyant, and dismissive of pretty much everyone. He always acted like his eyes were positioned above his forehead, too proud to look at anyone. The moment Levi Shaw opened his mouth, he said something that completely blindsided me. "Lily," he began, "my cousin's getting old. Why don't you give me a try? I'm young and full of energy." What? I genuinely thought there was something wrong with my hearing. Levi had always seemed like the kind of guy who couldn't stand women. And yet, as soon as the door clicked shut behind him, his kiss came crashing down like a tidal wave. It was the first time I'd ever kissed anyone besides Ethan Shaw. Strangely enough, I actually kind of liked it. Maybe it was because Levi's face was just too damn good-looking. He was exactly my type. The first time we met, Ethan and I had already been dating for 4 years. Back then, Ethan had moved out of his family's home for over a year because of me, and our relationship was at its sweetest. To be honest, Ethan had never really been my physical type. He was the sunny, clean-cut kind of handsome. Levi, on the other hand, was wild, unruly, and full of attitude. At 18, Ethan's love had been bold and all-consuming. He was the first person who ever made me feel truly loved, and I fell for him fast and hard. But with Levi that night, things escalated before we even made it past the front door. No wonder he had the nerve to say I should give him a try. He had more than enough to back it up. His energy nearly overwhelmed me. That kind of passion. It had been a long time since I'd felt anything like that with Ethan. Just as Ethan said, 10 years. The once fiery love had long since burned out. In the past 2 years, even when we shared a bed, we mostly just slept side by side. Maybe breaking up really was the best ending for us. Still, it hurt that Ethan had been the one to taint what we once had. Lily, did it feel good? Levi's eyes sparkled as he looked at me, so openly affectionate, it made my heart stutter. For a moment, I was dazed. Ethan used to look at me like that too. I didn't answer, but Levi took that as a challenge and only pushed further. In the end, I had no choice but to surrender. Once he got the answer he wanted, he was even more intense than before. Lily, he whispered, holding me in his arms. I wrapped my arms around his neck, letting him lift me from the couch and carry me to the bedroom. Eventually, I lost all sense of time and awareness. When I woke up the next morning, the bed beside me was already empty. My body felt like it had been run over by a truck. I muttered to myself, Levi really doesn't seem like someone who's never been in a relationship. The way he goes at it, he's far more intense than Ethan ever was. I tossed the blanket aside and climbed out of bed. Last night was my final act of indulgence, for myself. Our company was planning to open a new branch in the capital, and they had been urging me to go and take charge. I'd been hesitating because of Ethan. But now that we had broken up, I'd made up my mind to accept the transfer. I was originally from the capital anyway. Back in college, I had applied to Ocean City because I wanted to get far away from home. Since graduation, I had only gone back once. I opened the bedroom door, planning to wash up, when the smell of food hit my nose. I looked up and saw Levi in the open kitchen, cooking eggs with his head slightly lowered. I was stunned. I hadn't expected Levi to still be here, let alone doing something like this. I'd assumed he had already left. Sensing my gaze, Levi looked up. When he saw me, his eyes lit up like the sky bursting into daylight. The early summer sun streamed in through the window, casting a warm golden glow around him. In that moment, my long dormant heart stirred awake. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Lily, you're up, he said, smiling brightly. Breakfast will be ready soon. He said it so cheerfully, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Bookmark. I forced down the flutter in my chest and mumbled, okay. I had never once considered having anything serious with Levi. That 10-year relationship with Ethan had drained all my emotional strength. I couldn't bear the thought of another love that might lead to nothing. Besides, Levi was only 24. The gap between us wasn't just in age, it was in family background too. And his background wasn't any weaker than Ethan's. In fact, it might even be stronger. As we ate breakfast, Levi said casually, I'll take you somewhere fun later. Seeing the excited look on Levi's face, I didn't say no. I booked a ticket to the capital for Monday. After tomorrow, I would cut ties completely with Ethan Shaw's world. What I didn't expect was that Levi would take me to an amusement park. Because my dad remarried and focused entirely on his new family, I never had anyone take me to places like this as a child. The first time I ever went to an amusement park was with Ethan. When I told him I'd never been before, he looked heartbroken and said, Lily, let's come here every year from now on, okay? For the first 6 years, we actually did come every year, but starting from the 7th year, he was always busy with work. I didn't want to burden him, so I said it was fine. After that, we never went again. Lily, Levi called, pulling me out of my thoughts. I turned to see him placing a purple bunny ear headband on my head. Told you it suits you. He smiled with that carefree, radiant energy and then took my hand in his. When I was little, my parents were always working. No one ever brought me to a place like this, Levi said. This is actually my first time at an amusement park. I glanced at the side of his face, surprised to learn that we'd shared such a similar kind of loneliness. Lily, do you want to try bungee jumping? I'd always liked thrill rides. Ethan had a fear of heights, so while he'd tried a few adventurous things with me, he never dared go near a bungee platform. When Levi pulled me into his arms and jumped together, all the stress I'd built up from work and the heartbreak from being cheated on vanished with every scream on the way down. Lily Chen's new life had begun. The day after our breakup, Ethan showed up at a friend's gathering looking like hell, with dark circles under his eyes. When he didn't bring Mia, one of his buddies nudged him and joked, "What, no wifey with you today?" "Didn't we break up?" Ethan snapped, clearly irritated. As he recalled the things I'd said to him at 2 a.m., his expression darkened even more. "You broke up with both of them?" the friend asked cautiously. It was only then that Ethan realized what he'd just admitted. The moment the word wifey came up, he instinctively thought of me, and that realization made his mood worse. "She's filming today," he added quickly, trying to cover it up. The friend patted his shoulder. "Ethan, Lily's stubborn. If you really want to be with her, you need to cut things off with Mia, before it's too late." "Cut it out." Before he could finish, Ethan slammed his glass onto the floor with a loud crash. "She's just spoiled. If I give her a few days of cold treatment, she'll come crawling back to me." The friend hesitated, clearly unsure. Another guy tried to smooth things over. "Yeah, Ethan, you were always way too nice to her. I mean, in our circle, who doesn't have a side chick or two? You stayed faithful for all those years. Honestly, she should be grateful." The conversation shifted quickly, and Ethan didn't say another word. His hand gripped the new glass tighter and tighter. Even if she did come back to make peace, he wouldn't forgive her so easily. She needed to learn a lesson. That evening, Levi and I got on the Ferris wheel. When we reached the very top, his warm hand gently covered my eyes, and a searing kiss fell on my lips. I instinctively wrapped my arms around his neck. His kiss made my knees weak. I melted against his chest. Only when the Ferris wheel began its descent did he finally let go. "Lily," he said softly, "I heard that couples who kiss at the very top of the Ferris wheel can be together forever." His eyes sparkled as he looked at me, full of light and hope. I lifted my hand and gently pressed it against his lips. When the ride stopped, the corners of his smile lowered, and the glow on his face faded. I turned my head away, unable to look at the sadness in his eyes. "We shouldn't see each other again," I said. Then I opened the door and stepped out. On the way back, my chest felt heavy. I knew what Levi had wanted to say up there in the Ferris wheel. He'd been about to confess. If I had met Levi when I was in my early 20s, I would have said yes without hesitation. But I was 28 now. I had just ended a 10-year relationship. I didn't know if Levi would turn out to be another Ethan Shaw. And I wasn't willing to gamble away another decade of my life. After getting home, I took a shower and started packing. I decided to fly to the capital earlier than planned and visit my childhood best friend. I rescheduled my flight to 1 in the middle of the night. When I arrived in the capital at 8 a.m., my friend was already waiting at the airport to pick me up. The last time we saw each other was at her wedding. I had come with Ethan Shaw to attend the ceremony. When she heard we'd broken up, she was genuinely sorry, but when she found out he had cheated, she was livid. "You're smart and beautiful in every way," Linlin fumed. "And he broke up with you for some talentless wannabe actress? He must be blind." "I'm throwing a party," she added with a smirk. "I'll invite all my husband's hot friends. You can pick whichever one you like." Her words had me laughing uncontrollably. But I wasn't planning to start another relationship anytime soon. My focus was on getting the new branch office up and running. Linlin sighed. "Lily, just promise me one thing. Don't let that scumbag Ethan ruin love for you. You're only 28. Your life is just getting started. Honestly, breaking up with him might be the best thing that ever happened to you. He's in Ocean City. You're in the capital now. And if anyone dares mess with you here, I'll have their head cracked open within an hour." I knew Linlin had always hoped I'd return to the capital. We'd been friends since kindergarten. But she'd seen how deeply Ethan loved me, and how well he treated me back then, and she'd been truly happy for me. Once I got to the hospital here in the capital, things got crazy busy. It wasn't until I finalized the office lease and hired a solid team that I finally had a moment to breathe. Today, I didn't have to work overtime and planned to head home early to catch up on sleep. But just as my car pulled to a stop, my phone rang. The caller ID showed an Ocean City number. I figured it was an old friend. When I answered, a familiar voice came through the speaker, tired and full of frustration. "Lily, come back and take all your stuff. Mia's moving in." I couldn't believe it. Ethan was actually calling me about this. "Just toss it," I replied coolly. "You want me to throw it away?" His voice was thick with disbelief. "Do you have any idea?" Of course I knew. Everything I'd left behind was stuff he'd given me. I'd left it on purpose, because I didn't want any of it. Ethan took a breath and steadied his tone. "There's too much. Just come back and sort through it yourself." "I'm not in Ocean City," I said. "Hire a cleaner to handle it. I'll pay." And with that, I hung up. For the rest of my life, I didn't want to have anything to do with Ethan Shaw again. When I stepped out of the elevator, I stopped in my tracks. Someone was standing in front of my apartment door, a figure I instantly recognized. He turned around. Lily. Levi Shaw stood there in a khaki jacket, his hands stuffed in his pockets. That usually arrogant, untouchable face of his now looked unusually aggrieved. "What are you doing here?" I knew Levi was from the capital, but he'd been in Ocean City throughout college and the 2 years after graduation. I hadn't expected him to be back here too. "I'm not asking for a label," he said as he walked quickly toward me and pulled me into his arms. "Just give it a try. Who knows, you might not be able to let me go." I couldn't help rolling my eyes, though I also found him a little ridiculous and kind of funny. I lifted my arms and hugged him back. "How did you know I lived here?" The moment he showed up, I had guessed he must have pulled some family strings to find me. "I won't do it again," he said quickly. "Oh? So you're already thinking there'll be a next time?" I smacked him hard on the head. "Let go. I need my keys." He nuzzled against my shoulder for a second before reluctantly releasing me. As I fished out my keys, he grabbed my hand like he was afraid I'd run off. But the second the door opened, his expression completely changed. Like a starving wolf, Levi Shaw pinned me against the door and kissed me fiercely. I heard the sound of fabric tearing, buttons scattering to the floor like jade beads hitting a tray. "Levi, that shirt is new," I gasped. Just 2 days ago, I had squeezed in a bit of time to go shopping with Linlin. We spent nearly half a day before I finally picked this one out, and now, under Levi's hands, it was in shreds. "I'll take you to buy another one tomorrow," he said without giving me the slightest chance to argue. From the entryway to the bathroom to the bedroom, I lost count of how many times we crossed those spaces. He was like a big dog who had been abandoned by its owner and now clung to me desperately, whispering over and over again in my ear about how much he missed me. By dawn, I had already fallen into a deep sleep. But Levi, he was tireless. I was so exhausted, I just gave up trying to resist and let him do as he pleased. What I didn't know was that not long after I fell asleep, the phone on the nightstand started ringing. Levi paused and picked it up. The caller ID showed the number was from Ocean City. He immediately knew who it was. Looking at me, my trembling eyelashes, my slightly swollen lips, his eyes darkened. "Lily, just like you wanted, I've dealt with Mia. Are you done being dramatic now? If you are, come back," Ethan Shaw said on the other end, his voice tinged with regret. What he had meant to say was, "Lily, I was wrong. Please come back. I can't sleep without you. I lost my mind. Mia was just a fling. I never even touched her." But what came out of his mouth was the exact opposite. Last night, when he called, he had wanted to patch things up. But the words I threw at him when I left had stung too deeply. "You think I'm not tired of you? You only know a few tricks, and I've seen them all." That had crushed him. Just then, faint giggles rang through the phone. Ethan's face went pale. "Who are you? Calling Lily this early in the morning? You woke me up. Who do you think I am?" Levi's voice came through, calm and lazy. Ethan gripped the phone so hard his knuckles turned white. "Put Lily on the phone." "Sorry, Dr. Shaw, Lily's still asleep. She's too tired to take your call," Levi replied with a mocking lift in his tone. Ethan's eyes burned red. His voice came through gritted teeth. "Lily is my girlfriend. If you lay a damn hand on her," Levi chuckled. "Need me to jog your memory? You cheated on her. She caught you. She's been single ever since." With that, he hung up, ignoring the furious yelling from the other end. He turned to look at me, peacefully asleep, and let out a quiet sigh. "Lily, what am I gonna do with you?" The next day, Linlin came to visit and walked in just in time to see Levi cooking lunch for me in the kitchen. Her gossip radar went into overdrive. When she found out Levi was Ethan's cousin, she waved it off without hesitation. So what? Who cares if he's Ethan's cousin? Hell, even if he were Ethan's dad, I'd still tell you to go for it. A guy who looks like that and can cook? Come on, those are unicorns these days. I followed her gaze into the kitchen and couldn't deny it. When I saw Levi standing at my door yesterday, that spark I had tried so hard to suppress back in Ocean City surged up again. I realized I had developed feelings for him. The deeper I liked him, the more I feared what came next. I asked myself honestly, could I really cross that huge gap between us? Linlin, being the friend who had known me for over 2 decades, caught on right away. She held my hand and said sincerely, "Lily, you've only had one relationship, and it ended badly because he wasn't good enough. That doesn't mean every guy is going to be like Ethan. You said Levi's never dated anyone before, and he's not the type to mess around. If someone can stay clean in his environment, I believe he's not the kind of man who cheats. You're young, gorgeous, and your figure's amazing. Of course he likes you. That's normal. Just give yourself a chance. And give him one too, okay?" Linlin had always been the one who understood me best. With just a few words, she made me reconsider everything. Starting a new relationship wasn't necessarily a bad thing. That night, as Levi Shaw led me up a mountain trail to the summit, I held him tightly and whispered in his ear, "Levi, let's give this a try. Let's be together." His body went stiff for a moment, but then he cupped my face with both hands, eyes lit with ecstatic joy. "Lily, do you mean it?" His eyes shimmered like galaxies, filled with stars and wonder. I answered with action, not words. The result was that I ended up calling in sick the next day. For 2 straight days, we hardly left the house. Levi was tireless, his excitement and energy unrelenting. I fully experienced what he meant when he'd said he was young and full of vigor. "What's up with Ethan?" a few of his friends asked as they watched him down glass after glass of alcohol in the private lounge. Yuanji looked around. He's been searching for Lily non-stop and can't find her anywhere. Ever since a few days ago, Ethan had basically turned Ocean City upside down, but there hadn't been a trace of me. "Gee, weren't you close to Lily?" one of the guys asked. "Why don't you give her a call?" Ethan, holding a drink midair, looked up sharply. With everyone staring at him, Yuanji reluctantly pulled out his phone. After just a couple rings, the call was answered, and he put it on speaker. "Lily, where are you?" he said. "Ethan's drunk. Can you come get him?" Ethan tried to keep his expression indifferent, but his ears were already fully tuned in. "You must have dialed the wrong number," I said. "If he's drunk, shouldn't he be calling Mia?" "Lily, come on," Yuanji tried again. "He was never serious about Mia. You've always been the one in his heart." Just then, a male voice rang out clearly from the phone. "Lily, what do you think of this bracelet?" All eyes turned to Ethan. A sheet of ice seemed to fall over his face. He clenched his hand, and the glass he was holding shattered into pieces. Blood dripped from his hand onto the floor with a soft drip, drip, drip. Yuanji hesitated, but pushed forward. "Lily, Ethan," before he could finish, I cut him off. "Gee, I'm in the capital. I can't go pick him up. I'm shopping for a gift with my boyfriend right now. We're having dinner with his parents later." The call disconnected with a sharp tone, ringing clearly in the suddenly silent room. Ethan's face was black with rage, his bleeding hands still dripping steadily. One of the friends cautiously offered, "Ethan, she's just mad, that's all. She's trying to get a reaction out of you. If you apologize properly, she'll forgive you. She really loves you." Ethan abruptly stood up. "Exactly. Lily's just angry. She loves me. There's no way she'd actually leave me. All I have to do is apologize. She'll come back. Just like every time we've argued before." When Levi and I arrived at his family's hillside villa, I was nervous. I'd been to Ethan's family estate before, but his parents had never even let me step through the door. Back then, Ethan loved me so much that he stormed off with me the moment they snubbed me. I couldn't help but fear that history might repeat itself. But when Levi looked at me with those pleading, hopeful eyes, I couldn't stay hard-hearted. The door was opened by a middle-aged man who greeted me warmly. "Miss Lily, come in. Young master mentioned early this morning that he'd be bringing you for dinner. Sir and madam are already waiting." Levi whispered that I could just call him Uncle Zhang. He was the Shaw's housekeeper. As I changed my shoes, Levi gently squeezed my hand. Don't be nervous. My parents are really easy to get along with. Even though Levi tried to comfort me the entire way there, I was still anxious. I'd never been lucky with elders. As a child, I was never liked by my father. As an adult, my boyfriend's parents never liked me either. So as I came to meet Levi's parents, I had already prepared myself. If they didn't approve, I would just keep dating him casually. I wouldn't dream of anything more. But to my surprise, Levi's parents were easy to get along with. His mother warmly pulled me down to sit on the couch beside her. Levi's never been interested in girls since he was little, she said with a bright, genuine smile. I honestly worried he'd end up single for life. But the moment he sent me your photo, I was smitten. This brat's been picky for years, and I never thought he'd finally choose someone as lovely as you. She spoke with such warmth that I couldn't help but feel relaxed. It was hard to believe she and Ethan's mother were sisters. Ethan's mother came across as a strong and sharp businesswoman, the type who always had everything under control. But Levi's mom was wrapped in gentleness and radiated a kind of nurturing kindness that instantly put people at ease. Levi, sitting beside me, casually looped his arm around my chair and raised a brow at me, as if to say, "See? I told you so." I smiled back at him. Linlin had been right. Being with someone different brings a different kind of life. Dinner at the Shaw Villa was warm and full of laughter. Everyone was so welcoming. I knew much of that had to do with Levi, but their kindness still touched me deeply. Before we left, Levi's mom held my hand and said cheerfully, "Lily, your uncle and I aren't the kind of people who care about social status. We earned all this money so our children could live comfortably. As long as Levi is happy, that's all that matters to us. I know you're a good girl. We weren't the best parents, too busy working, too absent for Levi, but he's never been passionate about anything except for you. He's liked you for years. I hope you two stay happy together." Her words made my nose sting. "We will," I whispered. "We really will." From the moment I got in the car, I couldn't stop crying. The tears fell like a broken string of pearls. Levi was so startled that he quickly unbuckled and pulled me into his arms the moment we'd parked. "Did my parents scare you?" he asked, cautiously. I shook my head in his arms. I never got any love from my parents. And Ethan's parents treated me with nothing but disdain for years. Suddenly being treated this gently, I just couldn't hold it in. "I really like you, Levi." I hugged him tightly around the waist. In the week we'd been together, he had introduced me to his friends and his family. They treated me with kindness and respect. Levi's friends were nothing like the ones in Ethan's circle. Ethan had always been praised as the clean one among them, just because he didn't mess around with women like the others. But Levi's friends? Some had been with their girlfriends for years. Some were married, and they all seemed genuinely happy. This was the first time Levi had heard me say I liked him. He froze, not knowing what to do with his hands or feet, then leaned down beside my ear like a child begging for candy and asked me to say it again. So I did. Again and again, I told him I liked him. When we got back home, Levi was more out of control than ever. He especially loved making me confess my feelings during the most intense moments, childishly needy, but I couldn't help but love that about him. After we'd showered and crawled into bed, just about to sleep, the doorbell rang. "I'll check it." "You go ahead and sleep," he said, pressing a kiss to my forehead before slipping out of the bedroom. Outside the door, Ethan stood holding a bouquet of lilies, anxiety written all over his face. He had so much to say to me, things he didn't want to twist or disguise anymore. He wanted to be honest. In his pocket, he had a red velvet ring box. Today, he was going to propose. They had been together for 10 years. He should have proposed long ago. If he had, maybe they never would have fallen apart. It had only been a minute, but it felt like a century. He felt like he was right back at the beginning, when he first started pursuing me. He even remembered how his hands trembled as he sent that very first WeChat message after getting my contact info. The door opened. "Lily." Ethan's hopeful smile vanished the moment he saw Levi's face. Levi stood there in nothing but a pair of loose shorts. The crescent-shaped marks on his bare arms were painfully obvious, and at his feet were a mess of men's and women's clothing, not yet cleaned up. The sight before him was something Ethan Shaw couldn't process. He clenched his teeth. Levi, she's your cousin's girlfriend, he growled. Levi crossed his arms over his chest and looked at him with smug disdain. Cousin's girlfriend? Ethan, you really love living in your delusions, don't you? He added. You actually thought after cheating on Lily, she'd take you back? Ethan's eyes were bloodshot. You're disgusting. Levi, why aren't you back yet? Mia's soft voice came from inside the apartment. Even through the door, the intimacy and hoarseness in her tone made a vein twitch in Ethan's temple. He flung the bouquet of lilies aside and threw a punch straight at Levi's face. I heard the commotion outside and thought Levi had gotten hurt. I threw off the blanket and ran out. When I reached the living room, Ethan's fist was already midair, about to strike Levi again. I yelled, Ethan, stop! He froze when he saw me. I rushed over and cupped Levi's face to check his injuries. His lip was split. My heart ached. Ethan Shaw, are you insane? You came to someone else's home in the middle of the night just to start a fight? I stared coldly at Ethan. Not only had he cheated, now he was barging in to make a scene. I didn't know what he was thinking. We'd been together 10 years, and even after breaking up, I never wanted things to turn ugly. Lily, you're yelling at me for him? Ethan's face had gone white as a sheet. He pointed at Levi. He knew you were my girlfriend, and he still made a move when we were fighting. We already broke up, I said sharply. No, Lily, I never wanted to break up with you, he blurted, panicking. It was just a moment of weakness, a stupid fling. The only one I ever loved is you. The only person I want to marry is you. Fumbling, Ethan pulled a small velvet ring box from his pocket. Lily, let's get married. Lily, my face hurts. Levi suddenly groaned, deliberately dramatic. Come check, did he ruin my face? The moment Ethan opened the box, Levi clutched his cheek and wailed. I didn't even bother listening to Ethan anymore. I turned straight to Levi, completely focused on his swollen lip. Levi shot Ethan a provocative glance and whined, Lily, your cousin hits too hard. He probably hopes I'll get disfigured so you'll stop liking me. That's impossible, I said. No matter what you look like, I'll still like you. I knew Levi was doing it on purpose, playing it up. But the fact that he was jealous enough to act this childish made me feel oddly adored. He liked me, and I liked him. His possessiveness wasn't annoying. It warmed me. Ethan, still standing outside the door, watched the way I looked at Levi, just like how I used to look at him. His face lost all color, as if something inside him cracked. Lily, he rasped, voice hoarse. Don't treat me like this. I turned toward his pale, stricken face. But I felt nothing. You knew exactly why my mother died, I said coldly, and you still went out and cheated. You should have known what you were doing the moment you crossed that line. I will never take back a man who cheats. Levi chimed in beside me, voice full of mock sincerity. Don't worry, Lily. I'd never do that. I'm the most loyal guy you'll ever meet. I closed the door in Ethan's face. The second it shut, Levi's expression dropped. He was going to propose to you? He looked furious. I stood on tiptoe and kissed him lightly on the lips. I don't like him anymore. I'm not marrying him. Levi's eyes curved into a bright smile. You do like me, so you'll marry me. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Like a magician, Levi pulled out a ring box from behind his back. Inside sat a massive pink diamond. I was stunned for a second before I came to my senses. There he was, down on one knee. Lily, I'll treat you well for the rest of my life, he said, eyes blazing with sincerity. I didn't know what the future held, but in that moment, I knew I couldn't say no. When Linlin saw the giant pink diamond on my finger, her jaw practically hit the floor. She gave me a huge thumbs up. My fiancé wasn't just energetic, he was fast too. He had me laughing until my sides hurt. I'd heard that Ethan Shaw was currently in the capital as well. I nodded. He's been parking outside my office building every day this week. He told me he didn't care that I'd been with Levi. He said he'd cheated once, I'd done it once, so we were even now. As long as we could live a good life together from now on, everything would be fine. His words made my head spin with anger. Ethan stubbornly believed I was with Levi out of revenge. But I wasn't the kind of person who had time or energy for petty payback. The Capital branch had just launched, and as the person in charge, I was so busy, I barely had time to eat. Levi even joked that I was neglecting him because of work, and whenever we got a free moment, he'd take me out somewhere fun to unwind. Even our wedding was being planned by his mother. If I didn't truly like him, I would never carve time out of my packed schedule just to be in a relationship. After parting ways with Lin, I spotted Ethan again in the parking lot. He was standing next to my car, smoking. It had only been half a month, but he already looked like he'd lost a significant amount of weight. He looked tired and disheveled. As soon as he saw me, he stubbed out the cigarette. He knew I hated the smell. He had picked up smoking when the pressure of work got to him, but when he found out I didn't like it, he quit cold turkey. I almost told him to stop coming. Seeing him standing there awkwardly, trying so hard to hide his vulnerability, I couldn't bring myself to say anything cruel. Yes, he hurt me. But I couldn't deny it. He'd also loved me deeply for 10 years. He had helped me rebuild my worldview, helping me grow from a sensitive, insecure girl into the confident and strong woman I had become. I didn't want to hate him. You can only hate someone if you still love them. I no longer loved him. So there was no hatred left either. From this point on, to me, Ethan Shaw was nothing more than Levi's cousin. The light in Ethan's eyes slowly faded. He whispered, "I'm sorry," and turned to leave. There was nothing of the confident young man he used to be, only quiet humility and defeat. "Lily?" A voice called from not far away. I turned and saw Levi stepping out of his car, waving as he opened the passenger door. He strode toward me. "I thought you had to work overtime," I said. "I came to pick you up." "Work can wait, you're more important." He took my hand and interlaced his fingers with mine. The golden glow of the sunset cast long shadows behind us. "Mom cooked tonight, she's waiting for us." "Then we'd better get home. Can't keep her waiting." The autumn breeze lifted strands of my hair. I looked at the man beside me. Our future was only just beginning. Bonus, Ethan's perspective. To this day, I still don't understand how I lost my mind. When I first met Mia, she reminded me of Lily 10 years ago, quiet, a little shy, with the same uncertain way of looking at the world. I fell in love with Lily at first sight. She was beautiful but lacked confidence. One careless word from someone else could send her spiraling. It wasn't until we were together that I realized her insecurities came from her family. Her father had always raised her with harsh, belittling words. I felt so sorry for her. She deserved the best the world had to offer. During college, I brought her into my friend group and took her everywhere with me. Everything she'd been denied before, I wanted to give her. Little by little, she grew more confident and began discovering her own interests. I loved seeing her shine when she was doing something she was passionate about. That version of Lily, glowing and vibrant, was breathtaking. In our senior year, when my parents found out we were dating, they tried to force me to break up with her. Of course, I refused. I moved out of the house without hesitation. I was convinced I could give Lily the life she deserved. When I started my company, she was my biggest source of support. No matter how exhausted I was, one smile from her when I got home made me feel like I could work another 2 hours the next day. As my company grew, I got busier and busier. But no matter how late I came home, I always came home. Without Lily beside me, I couldn't sleep. I always thought I'd propose after I made my first million. That had been my goal from day one. But when did I start forgetting? It was during the 7th year of being with Lily that I realized. My feelings for her had started to fade. In the 8th year, when my parents finally approved of our relationship, Lily brought up marriage. My first instinct was to avoid the topic. She mentioned it twice more after that, but I used work as an excuse to deflect. Back then, I didn't realize it. She already sensed I was drifting away. She was giving me chances. And not only did I fail to cherish them, I allowed myself to get involved with Mia. Mia crawled into my bed. I didn't touch her. I couldn't take that final step. Deep down, I knew if I crossed that line, Lily would never see me the same again. She'd see me as dirty, unworthy. On my 28th birthday, Lily said she had to work late. I let my guard down and brought Mia over. I never expected Lily to get off work early. She saw everything. At the time, I was in complete self-destruction mode. A part of me thought maybe even the universe was telling me it was time to end things. I told her we should break up. And the moment the words left my mouth, I regretted it. I drank aimlessly that night. When I got home past midnight, I saw Lily pushing her suitcase out the door. I told her to sleep with me, not because I needed her body, but because I wanted her to stay. That was my attempt at reconciliation. But I was too proud to admit it. I had just said we were breaking up. I couldn't bring myself to immediately take it back. Then she said it. "I'm tired of you." I was furious. She walked away without hesitation. I waited over a month before I finally gave in and called her. She was cold. My pathetic pride flared up again. That phone call was a complete disaster. That night, I called her again. But a man answered. His voice sounded oddly familiar. Panic consumed me. I went crazy trying to track her down. That's when I learned she was no longer in Ocean City. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find her. The people I sent out eventually reported that someone was deliberately hiding her whereabouts. It wasn't until Yuanji called me that I found out Lily had returned to the capital. I pulled every string I could to track down her address. What I didn't expect was to find my cousin there. But I also wasn't surprised. The first time Levi met Lily, I didn't like the way he looked at her. After that, I intentionally limited their contact. I never expected that one stupid moment of weakness would give him a chance to steal what was mine. My Lily, she really didn't want me anymore. On Lily's wedding day, I went too. She stood there in her wedding gown, breathtaking. Her smile radiated so much happiness, it left me disoriented. It had been so long since I'd seen her smile like that. I knew then she had truly fallen in love with Levi. After the ceremony, I went back to Ocean City. I didn't dare contact her again. I just kept secretly checking her social media, wondering if she was happy, but my worry was unnecessary. My cousin treated her like she was the most precious thing in the world, spoiling her beyond belief. And I had completely lost the girl I loved most. The rest of my life would be spent in regret and longing.